So first step, we have to use lookup function in cell E2. Let's go to E2. So this is our E2 cell. I will zoom in a little bit. E2 equal. We have done VLOOKUP. It's similar to VLOOKUP, but it works horizontal data. VLOOKUP works on a vertical data. Works on horizontal data. So just following the instructions, use structured reference to look up the value in the post-secondary years column. Where's post-secondary years? Oh, this one. So just click on the first value. Just click each lookup, parenthesis open, click on the first value. Do not select the whole column. We will just find the answer for the first cell. Since this is a table, it will apply to the whole cell or the whole column. This is our first input. This is the lookup value input. The second input is table array. It's saying table array. They are saying the table array is the range P13 to U14. We can simply type in this range or select this range. So basically, what is this P13 U14 is actually this table. This one, this is highlighted. This starts at P13, this is 13, and it ends at U14. So this is our two inputs. Third input is row index number. I'm putting here 2 because they have told us to do the second row of the table. And the final input is there a approximate match or exact match? And they have said us find an approximate match. So for approximate match, I have to pick true. Our formula is technically complete, but there's one problem. If I press enter, I get this error. Do you know why? Do you know why I'm getting this error? All of you are getting this error?
Because the table moves down each time.
Yeah. So the table array is we didn't absolute reference it. Yep, you're right. Perfect. So this one, it points out to this table, but for the next cell, it moves down. How we can fix it? We can go back to our formula, make this value absolute reference. Meaning we have to put dollar symbols before P, before 13, then before U, and before 14. Are we okay with this stuff? All right, so once I press it, it gets fixed. All right. All set on this step. All of the values are correct. We can move on. So let's move on. Now, this is the first time you may use if statement. They're saying student organizations sometimes require transportation for off-campus activities, and school policy requires students to be over 23 years old to serve as transport. Lail wants to determine how many students of the active students will be eligible to transport other groups to members. In cell J22, so we'll go to cell J22, using the if function and structured references. Structured references means we are pointing to the tables, not the range. Find that K. Colbert. Who's K. Colbert? This guy, K. Colbert. can serve as authorized transfer. So we just work on the first cell, it just applies to the whole column. So we have to use if function here and find if this guy K is authorized to drive or not. So have you ever done any programming in life? If you have never done, this is the first time you're probably doing, it's like a program. If statement, it gives you what is a computer program? Is basically, if something is true, it will execute the program. If something is false, it will not execute. So if statement does that, it has three inputs. Logical input, it's a test. Logical means either you tell computer if it will be true or false, one of the two cases. And if it's true, it will execute this value if true. And if it false, whatever is in here, it will actually execute this value. What does it mean exactly? So if they're saying the function should use a reference to the H column. So let's go to the H column and click the H column. If I just clicked on the H column, I didn't select the whole column, I just clicked on the top H cell, the top cell of the H column, the first cell after the header. And I'm saying greater than 23. So computer can test this for each value in that column and find that, is that true or false? If it finds it's true, so it's a logical test. In the end, we will get an answer. Is it true or false? Is this value 24 is greater than 23 or not? If it is true, then this area will execute. Otherwise, it will skip. Are you getting this? So if function has three inputs, the first one is a logical test. The second one only executes if the test is true or passes the test. So what should we do? If it's true, they're saying we should return text yes. I'm put yes here, then comma. And if it's no, so if it's not 23, if it's not greater than 23, it should be no. And then we will close this function. Does this make sense? So this is like a computer program. Once you hit enter, it actually covers all. It shows us values for each one of them. If it's above, it shows yes. If it's less, it shows no. Leadership training. Okay. Any questions about this step? Anyone still working on this step? Need help on this step? I can wait. Anyone wants to see the formula again? Okay, so let's move on. To be eligible for leadership training. So this is next step where a student must have at least 2 years of post-secondary education and also have gone some finance training. So in cell K2, use if function. Now, if function only takes one test. If you have to give multiple tests, they all should be true, or one of them should be true. We can use or function, or give us option to add more than one test in a statement. Like I'm saying, it should be 2 years or more education, or a training he has done. Then this should be fine. So I'm putting if, and within if I'm putting or. And the first thing I'm putting is if the if function should determine if the student post-secondary years is greater than or equal to 2. So where's post-secondary years? This one. Now, I just clicked on the top cell. You should do the same. Do not select the whole thing. Make sure it is like this. At post-secondary years greater than. Now it's a greater than equal to 2. And also, when I'm saying greater than, make sure you have greater than symbol open towards the post-secondary years. So it's greater than equal to 2 or now if I have to give one more, I put comma and I can give one more condition. If the student finance certified is yes. So where's the finance certified column? Is this one? This should be, I'll type here, I'll come back here. This should be equal. Yes. I'm putting in quotes. So I didn't just type in yes. Always, Excel does not understand our language. It only understands numbers. When we give something in plain text, we have to put in quotes. There are other places where we also put in quotes, like you will see. But since this is not a number, it's a text, it's like a string, I put in quotes. So if this is equal to yes, this thing is equal to yes, then what? So if either of these, because this is an or statement, if either of them is true, then when I press comma, I'm actually back in my if function. Then it should return yes. Again, it should be in quotes. Or yeah. No and close. I'll actually zoom it. It should look like this. So it looks weird, it looks like confusing, but actually, if you do step by step and just understand what is required, it's pretty logical. Does it make sense? It is actually very logical if you think about it. And if you just do it, you will actually get it. Otherwise, it will look very tough and hard unless you do it. So again, we have an if function. We opened it and we closed it here. The or is the red parentheses. It opens here, it closes here. Yes and no are these belongs to the if function. And this whole is the first argument of the if function. So this whole thing is just the first part of the if function. All right. Step number 4. Experienced students may serve as mentors if they are at least 21 years of age and has at least 3 years of post-secondary education. So in cell L2, let's go to cell L2. This is cell L2 probably. If is greater than or equal to 21. So there are two things here again. If student age is greater than or equal to 21 and the student post-secondary years are greater than or equal to 3, then you should return yes. So can you guys do this? Do it. And just like or, the last one we did, instead of or, we should be using and function. and means they both should be true. Then it will be true. Have you guys ever heard about truth tables? Truth tables? Truth tables? Computer science, is there anyone for computer science? So there is something called truth table. It's a logical table, and people do it in computer science. So yeah, it's something like this. If you put and here, 1, 2, and then there's an output. Yeah, I'm just forgetting it. So true and true is true. True and false is actually false. False and true is false. False and false is false. So it goes like that. Like if you have one statement true and you have other statement true, then only the output is true. If you have one statement true and the other is false, the whole thing is false. That means and joins, the both thing has to be true. Same thing when we say and function, or is different. Or truth table looks like this. Truth, truth, truth. Truth, false, still true. False, true, still true. False, false, then only fails. Because either of these, either of the first two becomes true, the statement is true. Because it's an OR function. It's an OR gate or an OR switch. You know OR switch? So in computing and electronics, there are switches. So let's don't get there, but just use AND function here. Easy. Yeah, AND function, it means that the student has to be 21 years of age and he has to be 3 years or more. Then it should work as yes. Otherwise, it's always no. So are you guys able to do it? So it's the same idea. I will do it here, and I will use student age greater than equal to 21. The second thing, post-secondary years is greater than equal to 3, comma. So I'll put a comma here. If age is greater than equal to 21, so I'm not putting quotes around 21. Just think about. Because it's a number, not a text. If it's a yes or something, I'll put quotes. Secondary years greater than equal to 3 should give me yes. How's this? Is this okay? All of you? Same input? Anything different? So this should be the correct answer. Like this should be the answer. It looks hard if you try to just type in, but if you think logically, step by step, do it, it will be very simple. All right, let's do the next one, number 5. You guys should try to do it. Then I will help you. Like always on the lookout for students who might be interested in running for office in student groups. So in M2, M2, you need an if function for sure, but this is a nested if function. The nested if means there's an if function and there will be one more if function within the if function. So there is some condition where you have to put one more if. So start from here. If the value in elected column is equal to text yes, the formula should display elected. So in part A, so let's focus step by step. If the elected column is equal to the text yes, let's go to the elected column. This is the column. I'll just click on the first cell and it just messed it because I didn't open the parentheses. I'll go back and do elected, click, come back to my cell. Okay, elected, they're saying, is this equal? Still, I'm testing, I'm still not done. Is equal? Yes. Now I'm done with my test. If elected is equal to yes, then they're saying display this. Display what? Display, 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 display. This is how my mind is working literally. What did I type in? Yeah, it's like so hard to focus. Elected, elected, and it will type in elected or if it's true, but if it's false, then we'll go to this step. Otherwise, I have to open one more if function because it says here, if the value in the finance is yes, finance certified is yes. So I'll go if it's, now we're in the actually the no part, but if finance certified is equal yes, comma, then you still give out yes. Otherwise, you give out no. It should be like this. Does it make sense? Is this correct? So it's a lot of if yes, it just looks messy. It just looks dirty, but It's not. It just, this part is like your first part. If this is your first comma, this is like, if it's true, this is your logical text. If it's true, you will type in or display elected. If it's false, you will do this whole thing. What's wrong? Can anybody tell what's wrong? Yes. What is that? Yeah. Okay, questions about this step? So we also said we have to open parentheses, then we have to close them. So this black one is actually for the outer parentheses. This red one is for the inner if. And this is called nested if within if. All okay? Are you guys okay on this step? Generally, no, you guys can do it. So this one is an important in terms of your final. I will ask such questions. You guys will be tested on such things, on if statements. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Students who work with the student organization are also considered for employment. So students with more than 4 years of post-secondary education are qualified for more complex tier 2 jobs. In cell N1, so this is probably N1. Yeah, this is N1. First, we just need to change the word here. So just put in the word. Instead of column 1, put tier. That's it. In cell N2, enter a formula using if function. Enter a formula using if function, using structured reference to determine which work tier K Colbert is qualified. So it's pretty simple. We go and see post-secondary years is greater than equal to 4. So post-secondary years for the first person is greater than equal to 4. If it's then return 2, otherwise return 1. Pretty simple. So if greater than equal to 4, we return 2 or 1. Question? Good. Yeah. So let's do it. Let's press enter. Loyal wants a quick way to look up students by this. So yeah, I think we are good with this. All this. Let's move on to this side. So here in cell Q3, this is Q3. We have a function here. We look up, and we want to make sure that whenever someone enters a student ID. So how this is working right now, anyone enters a student ID, it pulls up the name of the student by VLOOKUP function. For example, K Colbert has this student ID. If I pick up this student ID and enter in this cell, it will bring me the name or any value from that. That's the job of the VLOOKUP function. What we want to do here is insert if error function before VLOOKUP. If someone enters a value in the student ID, for example, like this, we get an error. We don't want that. What we want here, we can go in and just nest this function with if error. So just put the whole function within if error. And then once you put it in if error, you have to also give a value if error. So if there is an error, what should the system show you? Like an error message? We can say anything like you entered a wrong number or valid student ID, invalid student ID, like this. Does it make sense? Once we hit it, nothing changes. Once we hit enter, but if somebody enters like this, we get this message. Like something invalid. So this is our final input. All right. So next one is a count if function. So let's go to cell Q8. This is Q8. Count if. Enter a formula using count if function and structured reference to count the number of students who have been elected to office in student organizations. Count if takes two input, range and criteria. So we are talking about students who are elected in office. So let's go to the range, elected range. I selected the whole thing. What I did, you can use mouse or you can just use your arrow keys. How I do it, I press shift, control key and down arrow key. Once you have done that, you can go back to your cell or you can just start typing up the top. If I'm typing up the top, maybe students at the back cannot see me, so I'll just type in here. So we are saying count this column. Student representatives is the table name, elected is the column name. So count all those cells which match this criteria. What criteria? What is the word they're using? Elected or yes? Oh, yes. Okay. So count if it's in that column, go to the range you're saying, and then once you're there, just see if it's yes, then just count that cell, and that's 11. Total cells are 11. All right, what's the time? We have time. All right, let's move on. Let's do the next one. In the R8, we have to use a function called average if. It only finds average for certain cells where the criteria meets. So there are three inputs. They're saying using the average if function, structured reference to determine the average number of post-secondary years of students who have been elected. So we have to find post-secondary years average for students who have been elected. So I'll still use this range. This is my range. Okay. And then I'll say yes. And then if it's true, instead of counting, you should do it an average of another range. Average of which range? The post-secondary years. all this, we should average it. So it should be like this. So how this formula is working? The first input is just your range of the criteria. And then what is your criteria? You selected this range, you say this table, this column, and what's the criteria? It should be yes, okay. I picked all those cells where it's yes. When it's yes, then what should I do? I should go to another column, post-secondary years, and average those numbers, just for those cells. Does it make sense? So you're averaging based on certain criteria. All right, let's move on. The step number 11 is just a simple average of post-secondary years. I'm just doing, I'm not even, I'm just typing the name. So I'm just saying, if you know the table name, you don't have to really go and select. You can just type in, like this student representatives is a table name. I press the tab key and pick the table name. Now it's all about which column I'm talking about. I'm calling it this column. I can actually pick the column name. Then close it. That's another way of selecting your data. Sometimes this is more effective. All right, let's switch to academic groups worksheet. The second worksheet, the third one actually. All right, in cell A14, we have to use index function. Okay. Good. In cell A14, we have to use index function. And we have to use academic groups table. How about we select this data? Then put a comma. And they're saying in cell A14, use index function as structured reference. So this is a structured reference like this. I picked the whole table. I didn't give a range. I just gave a table name. But make sure you don't pick the column headers of the table. Just pick the values. Pick the values. Then index, you have 3 inputs. And you want to display the value in the first row, first column. You'll put 1, 1. Index is a function which picks a cell value from the table from anywhere. For example, you want this value. You say first column, 10th row, 110, you will pick that value. That's how index is used. So index is just pointing to one cell. And then you will say, why wouldn't we just say A11? Or here A11 would be the same answer. Wouldn't it? Like, why do we have to use index function? The answer is computing club, which is this one. Why can't we just say like A2? You know, why not? Like, it's the same answer. So the basic answer is a lot of time it's more complex than just fetching referencing to the cell. Index points out to the right cell, or it helps you. Or you use index dynamically, which means it can change with time. Like A2 is changing, or this table is just moving bigger and smaller. So right now, we are not saying A2, we are just saying a table name. And then saying first column, first cell of this table. We could have said A2. Yeah, no. Because table can be dynamic. It can become 10 rows long, it can be smaller next time. So that's why. So this is step number 12 in short. In cell A17, let's go to A17. We have to use sum if. Sum if. Structured reference to display the total membership in 2023. So there's this column called 2023. I'll take it as a range. First thing, then I'll put a comma. Then there's a criteria, and it's saying at least 40 students or 40 members. So we are saying pick those clubs or those rows where in 2023 they are at least 40. What does at least means? Greater than, equal to 40? At least means greater than, equal to 40. And then what should be, and then what should we do? Once we get the sum of these values, like just sum them, sum the range. The final one is the sum range. So huge question, $1 million question. It's this equal, greater than, equal to 40 should be in quotes or without quotes. What do you guys think? Like I put greater than, equal to 40. This should be with quotes or without quotes. With. How many of you think it should be with? Why? Like, and how many of without quotes? Without quotes? With, what do you think really logically? Like, we should put some quotes or no quotes? It's a number. It's a criteria. Okay, do you remember we did a count if function, count if on the last sheet, and there was yes. We put count if and yes was in quotes. This is a number. Is this the same thing as a yes? Yes is a letters. What do you guys think? We are getting error. Should be with quotes. This is point to remember. So if it's a criteria, you put in quotes also. Even if it's just a number, or you are actually, it's not a number, you are actually matching it. You are saying greater than, equal to 40, then it can work. So remember always, count if, sum if, you have to use quotes or criteria. Always, always. All right, questions? No question? All right, let's highlight this part and move on. Lil also planning for student groups that the office will be working with the incoming year. She decides to create a pivot table. So we haven't used pivot table until now. Pivot table is a very effective tool. Let's open this. So switch to the academic pivot table worksheet. create a pivot table in cell A1. Let's go to cell A1, go to insert, go to table, and then pivot table, and then from table. So we are trying to create a table, a pivot table from a table. All right, table range. The first input is table range. We have to go back to our academic worksheet, academic groups worksheet, and pick the whole thing with the table header. This is a pivot table, guys. We should pick everything. We are not giving in a range. We should pick the headers, everything. So go to the last worksheet, pick the whole thing, and if everything looks good, like everything here looks good, looks like this, press OK. You will see this. Do you see this? Okay, so this is a pivot table setup. We can pretty much use pivot table from here. These are all the field names, the fields which were in that table. Pivot table aggregates the data at the field level. It will sum the data. So it's a very powerful tool. We have data individual cell level. Pivot table aggregates it or sums it. Update the table as follows. Change the pivot table name to academic pivot table. Go to pivot table at the top, go to this corner and type in academic. Academic pivot table. All right, add the activities field and the group name field in that order to the rows area. So there are different areas here: filter, column, rows, values. So take this activities field, hold it and drop it, like hold it and drop it in rows area. This is the rows area. So it's added here. When I drop it here, it just gets added here. Another thing they're saying, group name, hold it and drop it in the rows area. It just added here. So the pivot table will be aggregating the data at 2021, 2022, and 23 to the values. So let's hold this and drop it here. This gives our pivot table pretty much. All right. Change the display of subtotals to show all subtotals at group. So I think we have to go here. So let's hide this one. All right, so go to design of the pivot table, subtotal, show all subtotals at top of growth. Is this true? Yeah, at top of group. Yeah, so just make sure it's at the top. It is already at the top. Change the report layout, show in outline form. So make sure you click somewhere on the table to see these options. Design, report layout, show in outline form. So there is an option we are doing part number E. Right, let's do it. Update the sum of the 2021 field. So these are the fields. So whenever we bring in the field, it gets here and it sums. So what is these numbers? Over there, they were just club numbers for each year. But here, this summed it up for that club for the whole year. And then it gets a field level aggregation too. So 2021 membership in the number format with these. So we can actually edit these things. They are asking us to edit this. So click here, value field settings, and edit this to 2021 membership. So how do I get here? I drop down to this area, drop down, and then there's a field settings. Change the title, custom name. With the number format, with 0 decimal places, go to the number format. And make sure you do number, 0 decimal, like decrease the decimal places. 0, press OK, that's it. Do the same thing for both of these columns. For this one and this one. Yeah.
Revision and outline.
I did for what? Sorry?
Step E, change the showing outline.
I did. I missed that. Actually, it's here, show in outline. Oh, that's how it works. Okay. Yeah, maybe I didn't press it. Okay. I got it. All right. Same thing, we can just change this. I would say, I'll change from here. And then the third one. That's like shortcut way, but I wanted to show you that option because you will need it for this number format. Number format. Make sure it's 0, press OK, press OK, that's it. Questions about this step? Yeah, it's just formatting. Once you're done, let's switch to all groups table. So let's go to all groups table. use it as a 33 field value. So Lael wants to edit the record for Astronomy Society to use 76 as the 2023 value. So where's Astronomy Society? This one? This one? So just make it 76. Switch to all groups table, all groups pivot table. So there's an all groups pivot table. Switch on to there. Once you have made the change, you have to make change in this cell. I'll maybe show you. Where's our 76 now? This cell. Row number 7. G7. Make it 76 and then move on. This is a pivot table. How do I know the pivot table? When I click, it opens all these options. So go to design and apply the light blue style, light blue pivot table medium 2. This one. All right. Apply the office field to the filters area of the pivot table. Where's the filters area? Oh, okay. So what they're meaning, they're saying office. This is an office field. Hold it and drop it in the filter section. So now we have a filtering option up here. This was pretty long project, actually. Should we stop here? If you guys are feeling overburdened. Yeah, we can. Let's do, yeah, whatever we can do in 10 minutes. So office, once we bring in office, it gives us a filter option here. Filter the table so that only organizations with private offices are visible. So this filter applies on the whole table. Only select private. Go to the filter drop down and just select private and press OK. It just shows you private now. So it just filters the data. Filter the pivot table as follows. This is another way of doing it now. Create a slicer based on activities field. So how about this? We go here. We go to pivot table analyze section, insert slicer. And which fields you want to use? I want to use activities. Now I have a slicer. Slicer is this thing. Resize the slicer. Make sure you select the slicer. Then you will see the size of the slicer here. Make sure it's 2.2 and 3.2. It should look like this. Move the slicer so that its upper left corner appears. Question? Upper left corner appears in cell F3. So where's F3? This is F3. And lower right corner is in J14. We are right now actually in J14, very inside J14. Oh, this is J14, so I can make it bigger. Oh, we should be careful here. We should not change the size of the slicer because there was also a requirement for size. We should keep this size, just move it in a way that it's in F3, which is this cell, like the corner is inside the F3, and the corner is a little bit inside J14. Okay, so make sure you are on J14. If you click on the cell, we will say J, and on this side is 14. So you are inside the J14, and that's good enough. One last step from this part is use the slicer to filter the pivot table so that only fraternal groups are visible. Just click on fraternal. Maybe double click if it doesn't work. Just make sure only fraternal is highlighted, and then it will filter it out. So you'll also want to summarize membership data for all organizations using pivot chart to help determine which groups are showing the most interest from students. Switch to the activities pivot table worksheet. So let's go to the last worksheet called activities pivot table worksheet. Based on the pivot table on the activities table pivot table worksheet, insert a pivot chart using the clustered column chart type and format as follows. Oh, so we need to use this chart or pivot table to create a pivot chart. So just click anywhere on the pivot table, go to analyze. Then there's an option called pivot chart. Click on the pivot chart, you will get the pivot chart based on this pivot table. There are different options. You have to pick clustered column chart. So that's the correct chart. Press OK. You will get this chart. Resize, reposition the pivot chart so that the upper left corner is located within cell F3 and lower right corner is located within cell 09. So let's start F3. F3, 09. Oh, 9 or 19? Yeah, 19. Or 19. Add the chart title. So just add this title. Copy it. We can add chart title by going to the design of the chart this time. I'm going to chart element, chart title, above chart. Deleting this, inserting this. So we go to design, chart elements, chart title, above chart. Filter the pivot chart so that only the membership data for groups with educational field So they're saying filter the pivot chart so that only the membership data for groups with educational field and fraternal fields in each type of groups display in the chart. So how about, yeah, so we just have, yeah, we already have it applied here. So we don't have to worry about it. It's just educational field and fraternal. The filter is already there. We don't have to do anything. If it's not, then you must filter. Does it look like this? Yeah, it looks like this. So if your filter is not applied, you can actually apply it through this. Go here and just pick these three fields. That's it. This is it. You can submit your work. That's pretty much it. So let's see, we can submit maybe quickly. All right, so let's see you guys on Thursday. I will actually make a video of this and upload it. If you want to refer it, just check it. You can look at it later. Work on other Excel projects. And if you have missed the Access project, please work on Access project. We will on Thursday work on information security. So be here on Thursday. Hi.
Just doing something wrong, but I am trying to like edit this chart title
Okay,
and it's just not doing it. Like,
just give me one
Okay,
second.
no, you're
Let me,
so good.
yeah, let me just stop this.